It all began on a night when the wind didn't howl. It whispered. A cold October evening in 2023, the kind where streetlights cast long, trembling shadows and the world feels just a little too quiet. In the industrial outskirts of Portland, Oregon, nestled between rusted chain-link fences and forgotten warehouses, a cardboard box sat alone in the rain. Not taped shut, not labeled, just abandoned. Inside, curled into a shivering knot of matted fur and wide, terrified eyes, was a dog. Not a puppy, too old for that innocence, but not yet broken. Not quite. His ribs pressed against his skin like piano keys waiting to be played. His coat, once probably golden, was now the color of mud and despair. And yet, his eyes held something rare, not just fear. Hope. Faint, flickering. But there. No one saw him that night. No one heard his whimpers over the hum of distant traffic. No one knew he existed, except the rain, which fell without mercy, and the wind, which carried his silent plea into the dark. But fate doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it comes in steel-toed boots and a worn-out flannel shirt. Eli Ramirez was a night shift mechanic, 42, widowed, a man who spoke more to engines than people. He'd lost his wife 2 years prior, and since then, silence had become his closest companion. He walked the same route home every night, past the auto yard, past the shuttered diner, past the alley where the box sat, half collapsed under the weight of the storm. He almost didn't stop, almost kept walking. But something, some invisible thread pulled taut between two lonely souls, made him pause. He crouched, looked inside, and in that moment, time didn't stop. It rewound. Because the dog didn't flinch, he didn't growl or cower, he just lifted his head and looked Eli straight in the eyes. Not with fear, with recognition, as if he'd been waiting. Eli didn't think. He acted. He peeled off his jacket, wrapped the trembling creature inside, and carried him home like something sacred. He named him Atlas, because from that night on, Atlas carried Eli just as much as Eli carried him. The first week was fragile. Atlas barely ate. He slept in corners, flinched at sudden movements, and stared out the window like he expected someone to come back for him. Or worse, someone to take him away again. But Eli was patient. He sat on the floor for hours, reading old manuals aloud, just letting his voice fill the silence. He left food out, never forcing it. He slept on the couch so Atlas could have the bed. Slowly, trust began to bloom. One morning, Eli woke to a wet nose nudging his hand. Then a tail, thin, bony, but wagging, brushed his leg. It was a start. Then one evening, as Eli sat staring at a photo of his late wife, tears tracking down his cheeks, Atlas climbed onto his lap, rested his head on Eli's chest, and stayed there until the sun came up. They were healing each other, not with grand gestures or miracles, but with presence, with consistency, with the quiet courage it takes to show up day after day for someone who's been told they don't matter. But this story wasn't over. 3 months later, while scrolling through a local lost and found page, Eli saw it. A grainy security photo from a gas station just 6 blocks from where he'd found Atlas. The date stamp was from the same night. The time, 11:47 p.m. The image showed a man in a dark hoodie placing a box on the curb, and though his face was obscured, something in the way he moved, the hunched shoulders, the hurried step, stirred a memory Eli couldn't place. He reported it to animal control. They traced the footage, cross-referenced vehicle registrations, and within days, they found him. The man wasn't a monster. He was desperate, laid off, evicted, living out of his car. He'd left Atlas with a note he never wrote, a goodbye he couldn't bring himself to say. He thought, wrongly, tragically, that someone would find him faster on the street than in a shelter. When Eli met him, there was no anger, only sorrow. A shared sorrow. "I'm sorry," the man whispered, tears in his eyes. "I loved him. I just had nothing left." Eli looked at Atlas, who stood calmly beside him, tail steady, eyes clear. Then he said the words that would change everything. "He's got everything now, but you can visit, if you want." The man broke down. Not from guilt, from grace. Today, Atlas is no longer the dog in the box. He's the dog who greets neighbors with a wag. The dog who sits patiently outside the elementary school, waiting for kids to pet him after class. The dog who curls up beside Eli every night, as if to say, "You saved me, but I'm here to remind you, you're not alone." And sometimes, on quiet evenings, a man in a worn hoodie walks by their house. He doesn't come inside, but he stands at the gate, and Atlas runs to him. Not to leave, just to say hello, because love doesn't always look like forever. Sometimes it looks like a second chance. Sometimes it looks like a cardboard box in the rain, and the hand that reaches in. In a world that often discards the broken, they chose to mend each other. And in doing so, they became whole. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that celebrates kindness and connection. We'll see you in the next one.